let you know that I listened. I downloaded off of YouTube from Kevin Smith's copies of Charles' talk from a week ago yesterday. I listened to, he broke it down into 4 different parts, and I listened to that last night and finished up this morning. And I want you to know, I got more insight and awareness about how creation works, how your personal self works, how creation ties in with the real side than I've had in all the time I've been doing the new you, just in one day. You did a great job of explaining it. This for, I would say one of the, for anybody that might wonder what I'm talking about here, I think one of the biggest helps for me was that creation, when you're talking about building a house, you said in order to build a house, which is like the real side, you have to have the plans to build the house.
Blueprints.
And the blueprints. And the blueprints are not real. The information that once you build the house, then it's become reality and you can move in and live in it. And when you made the comparison of creation being a blueprint for the real side, it really hit home to me. So all of creation, the reason why creation is necessary is because it's like the blueprint of how reality is. So we can't really understand reality unless we understand the blueprint. And the blueprint is creation. So I got it. It connected. So thank you. Thank you for that.
We're at that moment.
I had an interesting dream, and this is one that you could help me on, and I have no idea, but it involved Mike. And what the dream was that Mike had to evacuate all his people from an embassy. And then I woke up from that dream.
That's like Name That Tune, isn't it? Remember that old show?
Oh, yes. Can you name that tune in OneNote?
Uh-huh. Yeah, Name That Tune. Yeah. Yeah, so I would imagine. I remember when I was a little guy, I saw that black and white, Name That Tune. I used to watch it.
Me too.
And Beat the Clock. Those were two that black and white and others. And yeah, those were always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Name That Tune. And the final, when they went through all the show, and of course there's all the final, then at the very end of the show, it would all start off with one note. Name that tune. Ding.
Yep. Yeah, sure, we can name that. It's only 250,000 songs it's in.
Well, I would say that from that experience, wait and see to see how much trouble Mike is getting himself into. So again, everything shows up.
Ha ha ha.
I hear Henrietta in the back.
Your chickens are speaking for you, Mike.
It's too funny. You know, one of my long endeavors is to wake people up to an area in our system that went to sleep 200 years ago. So that's interesting you make that comment, because that's kind of where everything is evolving to another level of, I'll say, awareness about who and what they are in the world. And that's going to become a big step, but one step at a time, as they say.
Looks like Henrietta wants to help you.
What's the name of your chicken?
I've given her a name. She comes on so frequently.
Your chicken.
Your chicken.
Yeah, I got Black Beauty here. We call her BB. We got where's Amy? Amy lays green eggs.
Oh, those are pretty.
Yeah, she's around somewhere. Anyway, we got a whole bunch of them here. Half of them we don't even know their names. We just say hi, kids, and they do these things. But they're all sweethearts.
Well, even the roosters are trying to.
Yeah. So that, and then, a funny question came to my mind a few days ago, because Claudia and I were talking about some real interesting things. And the question kind of came up about people who have an O blood type. And I think as it turned out, most O types are, we'll say, prone to like. And now I'm getting dirty looks from over here. They like to eat. They like meat, and that it almost associates with we'll just say the reptilian side of the gene pool. And you know, from what I've been introduced to and starting to see is that that gene pool does. It's actually connected to most people, and we all have different levels of that gene pool in us. So some things that our body just naturally is more comfortable with than others. And the O type is a kind of a window into that type. Doesn't mean you have to or you're forced to, but it's an easy step to go in that direction because your body likes it. So another one of those little, I'll say, challenges in life is you don't always do the things that your physical side says you should do. You got to open your eyes a little bit, look around, and see if that's really what the right thing to do. I mean, not that that's a right or a wrong, but that will help you evolve better or more easily. Like getting rid of all these little aches and pains and all the other things that are associated with the physical. It's kind of hard to sit in a New Year's session and have your leg feel like it's falling off. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that would be a detriment.
Did you ever read that book, Eat Right for Your Type?
That's what he was talking about. Eat right for your blood type.
Yeah, so you're right. And I think in that book, the O's do like to eat meat, like hamburgers and steaks. But as far as reptilians are concerned, I think reptilians, the shape-shifting reptilians have like A and B negative type.
Yeah, they have odd blood types.
They have the odd blood type where the O is kind of universal for the
O positive is a universal donor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means it'll work in anybody, basically.
Well, I had another dream that I'd like to share. And I dreamed that I was giving instruction in a helicopter near high-powered transmission lines. And then I woke up from that dream. Any idea what the high-powered transmission lines would refer to?
I got a kind of a guess about that. There's a particular system that's about to enter our view. Not everybody, but most people, and we're going to be closely associated with it. It's a new type of a transmission process that's not connected with the existing of the old mode as it's been introduced. In other words, it's not harmful. So when it comes to a power level, it's going to be way far and away above and beyond all the stuff that's going on right now, but it's not going to have the effect over us that the old crap is. It's like migrating from a chemicalized poison food product into an organic food product, if you understand my meaning.
So, Duane,
genetic-wise, Mike?
What was that?
Genetic-wise?
It's going to be. It's an energy field. It's here, but it's being activated. But it's not activated from, we'll say, from the control side.
Okay, so it's going to change the genetics?
No. Well, that's
the DNA. It's not going to change the DNA.
Well, that's another topic. I wasn't talking about that particular one.
Okay.
No, I'll just say it. This is a communication process.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of really neat stuff getting ready to happen or happening.
Yeah.
Well, Duane,
you're talking about. I know what you're thinking, right? More telepathic things.
That's an underlying part, but that's not the specific that I'm talking about. You know, you got. Okay. I'll give you a better example. Back in the day when you had a horse and carriage, and along came a guy with a car. Well, both of them could be in the private side. The horse doesn't burn up oxygen. It doesn't create. Well, it actually the horse does. It breathes in and so on. But it doesn't put pollution in the air to affect all the people around it, like the car does.
Okay.
They're both used for a similar thing, and the one is not controlled. The other one is.
Okay.
And that's kind of what's happening. It's already there. It just hasn't migrated into our particular area of usage just at the moment, but it's very close.
So, Duane, do you want to comment on the high power transmission lines?
Well, young man, you're in the helicopter, so any impressions while you're doing this? You said you were training someone, or what was the?
I was flight instructing in a helicopter, for which I am not rated to flight instruct. I'm rated to flight instruct in an airplane, but I am not rated to instruct in a helicopter.
Okay, well, on the real side you are, because you see helicopters are more maneuverable, aren't they?
Yes.
And, yeah, and so, it's not about speed so much. It's about maneuverability. And a plane is limited because it goes backwards and forwards. It can do some flips and whatever, but then again, it needs a landing strip. It's all restricted to how it's made, where a helicopter can land anywhere. So its maneuverability, it's not about the speed, because everything's here and now. And so the high power lines, they are what they are, and it can be either. But again, you don't want to get too close to them, because that's a no-no for helicopters. And there's always a warning on those high-powered lines, right? High voltage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it just depends upon the experience. It's both sides. So you're having the experience, and really everything is about awareness. It's not about technology. So the helicopter is just a reference for you, okay? As a maneuverable view in creation. It's a vehicle that you're all of a sudden, that's the real you, being able to operate that vehicle and get above things. And at the same time, yes, in creation, who created the power lines as an example, there's danger there. So you got to watch out for things too, right?
What was interesting about these transmission lines, normally when you see transmission lines, they'll be on tall poles, and there might be a half a dozen, wires or whatever. These transmission lines had like 2 or 3 towers, and there was maybe 30 or 50 power lines, it was almost like a wall of them. There were so many of them, and that was kind of interesting.
Well, I've had many experiences on the real side too, and I remember one that the boys picked me up. This was when I was younger, and this was after right at the time of the Rod of Power in 2001, and it was Fubi and the boys, and we took a plane in this one. Actually, I wrote about it, and we flew to the headquarters, and many experiences with the headquarters, going in and out of there, sneaking around, just doing things, etc. But as we were coming into the headquarters, there's all these power lines going into the headquarters, okay? So again, these are power lines, you see, and they're also tap lines is what they are. They set up these things. So on the real side, this is what you see also, is that they can appear like this. They are power lines. And again, it's about agreement. They decide these things, and then they hook people up to it, just like the power company. They build the power company, which we don't need, okay, but they do anyhow. And then the little houses are built around it, and then they're plugged in, right? So those are just like tap lines too. So again, in creation, we have power, don't we? We have the idea of power, but we think of it as energy, all right? So it's a reflection of reality, but it just depends upon what people do it here. So yes, it can, you plug it in and you can work your toaster, and it can turn on your TV, or you can build a machine like the Death Star and then zap everybody with microwaves. So it's what you do with that energy and power, isn't it? So again, there's always two sides to it. It has a benefit, and it has the other side too, that it's dangerous. So again, you're getting a view, you're getting an overview, because that's why you're in the helicopter and you're able to maneuver, you see. So that's the basic idea. What you do from there, how you define it, that's up to you. You're shown what is taking place. You see, and so just like my experience as Paul Newman, I was shown that, but I had to do it. I defined it, you see. That becomes the difference. It's not like, oh, wow, this is me. No, it wasn't that. I had to figure it all out. So they're giving you the experience, but you decide what it is, you see.
Well, I just now realize what it is. It's that I'm going to be instructing people about the dangers of the tap lines, that I'll be near the tap lines, but I'm not going to connect any or touch any, but I will be instructing other people about the dangers of those tap lines. Yeah, that makes sense.
There you go. And so you decide, see, now it's you stepping up and deciding, just like you kids went on your trip, you see, you're given the idea, you have the position, you have the awareness, really what it is. It's really not about position so much, who's higher or lower, whatever. You have the awareness to do something, and more than just talk about it, but actually do something. And so, but, you're given the opportunity, now you recognize a part of it, and so you decide what you do with that, you see? So just like this, you're stepping up, you're sharing. This is the first step, and there's always more, but you decide.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Duane. Now I'd like to change directions. I've been pondering over, in the corporation, they had what they called all these spiritual laws. And like they had the spiritual law of silence, and a whole bunch of thou shalt do or thou shalt not do. Could you expound a little bit on what those spiritual laws are, if they're valid or not valid, or they should be followed or not followed? What is, how do you look at that?
Well, I look at it very simply, and that is that I don't consider it at all, any of them.
There's your answer.
So, like, the law of silence is really doesn't really exist, is what you're saying?
No, I didn't say that. I just said I didn't consider any of them, and besides, Harold doesn't shut up, so he doesn't observe it.
Well, it seems to me that, in the corporation, like the law of silence is like a control, maybe a tap line to keep people from sharing the real experiences with Harold, maybe.
Well, Joni observes the law of silence. She don't tell you nothing.
All right. She doesn't even make an appearance.
Yeah, she practices it. Yeah, see, so it is being observed there, but again, it's how you see it. So again, the corporation is boot camp. It's babysitting boot camp. Okay, when you go to boot camp, anybody's been there in the military, but you've seen it in movies. They're babysitters. That's all they are. They're babysitting the troops, and they've taken, or the troops have volunteered to get away from their original babysitter, which is their parents, and go into the next position of being babysat until they're ready to go out there into life and figure out, decide whatever. and you see the world. Everybody decides whatever. They have the right to do that. And so it's all about awareness, but even when the individual has awareness, what they still have free will here. And so these things that are pointed to, okay, so when you look at them, you look at any of those, the law of this, the law of that, the law of karma, yeah, it has a particular, okay, I see it as a reference, like it is. But when people become absorbed as rule lovers to where it's a reality, like the Nazi youth turning in their parents because they're not agreeing with Adolf, you see. So that becomes different, like what Joni had one of the Reeses do to Ava when she was sharing the guides, and told the Risa to tell her to stop that. It didn't come from the Risa, it came from Joni. So again, this becomes this is where it becomes strange, where people become rule lovers. They love the rules, and by the very fact that they become rule lovers, that becomes first before the true reality life is. And so in certain situations, yes, it does apply. And so, but, you'll notice in the new presentation, there are no this and that's at all, because again, I just figured that by now people should have realized something in their life, and they can make choices. Otherwise, we just won't have anything to do with them if they just don't want to be real and sincere and make sense of things. So once you start stipulating things, then it becomes so. And so again, this has been the focus. This is the focus that Joni wants, just like worshiping and praying. Again, constantly creating restrictions. So I don't see where any of this applies to anything. This is old school, and it's just like, being with the old nuns that had the ruler, and, if you didn't have you weren't sitting up straight or something, they come along and whack you, so according to them, yeah.
Yeah, I've been there, done that, so I know what you're talking about.
Well, kind of like in the Blues Brothers, where they went and saw the penguin, and they walked upstairs and sat in these little chairs and barely could fit into it. And, she said, well, they're, the tax people are going to come, and they want a lot of money. And so John Belushi said, well, it sounds like you're up, what's it, Creek, and so she didn't like that. So she whacked him until he rolled down the steps.
Yeah.
It was great. And so they went on their adventure because they were intimidated enough to pay attention because they feared the penguin. So, and so the story starts until everybody's after them, the feds and everything like that, until they're in prison, and then they're all happy again and singing whatever. So again, this is how it is in creation. We each decide, etc. So again, I observe these things. I see what's made, and we have all these things. I just did the Bill of Rights thing also on one of the groups, and this is all nonsense. As soon as these things are stipulated, everybody becomes a prisoner, and the controllers don't see that they're prisoners too. They have prisoners, and they got to maintain them, so they're a prisoner of the prisoners. It's very so. And so again, do you see the birds enacting a Bill of Rights? It's like, here, I wrote this up for you, Tweety, and you've got rights. It's like, wow, I've got rights. Okay, so what are they? Read me my rights. So again, this stuff is neatly packaged, isn't it? And we went through this. Oh, the law of karma, the law of silence, the law of not being stupid, the law of, don't cross against the green light or the red light or something like that. And so I do that all the time. I love to go through the red light. And down here at the corner, and people are standing there waiting for the light, and I just ride my bike right in the middle of the street and dodge the traffic. So,
Sandy would say you live in Florida. You're a Florida driver.
Yeah, well, but I watch out, of course, but it's kind of fun to do it. But anyhow, but I don't do it at rush hour. But yeah, all these things, and your mind, your personal self, in a way, it really tries to find some good out of it, doesn't it? I mean, through all that you've been through, and it's been fine. It's been fine for those moments that you were there, but right now you're in the new moment. This is the best part, and it's all reference. And just like when I took the real position in 2001, I was shown the building and everything collapsed, which it had prior, and I stood there at the entrance, and it was all just rubble, kind of like 9/11 and the buildings that they imploded and fell straight down. Then a huge impression came to me. I don't need anything here. And Rebazar was standing to the right, and that was it. I got it. It's like, I don't need anything there. I'll just start new, and which I did. So again, and not implying restrictions, but letting people know that we all create our own restrictions, and we have enough restrictions here, so we don't have to create more. But some people just don't get it. They really want to keep creating it. But again, Joni's about control. And you notice again that Harold, how he commented on certain things, he has, like the authorities here, like the cabal, and they like to flaunt themselves through the movies and other things and tell the public what they're doing, etc. And so Harry's doing the same thing. You see, he's flaunting these ideas out there because what he's saying is that, oh, we're part of the cabal too. You see, we're part of the big club. We're the membership too of the cabal. We're part of the 13 families. And so this is why a lot of his talks are about what they are. And, the heck with Marjorie, because that would be kind of exposure to where people on the real side, and I would say just like you, Sandy, and Claudia and others, they see what's going on. But, just like people working for the government, they see what's going on, but they're afraid to say.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a little note to that nice little thing Duane wrote on the Bill of Rights. It was actually one of the guys that was responsible for setting that, not the Bill of Rights up, but the Constitution. And what he said when they started proposing that stuff, he said, "What's the matter with you people? You don't need a Bill of Rights." He said, if it isn't written in the document giving them the authority to do something, they can't do it. So you're standing in a neutral place right now, and all you got to do is just do what you should do. And if somebody comes and tries to knock your door down, well, then you may want to deal with that. But it isn't about you telling them what your rights are. Because if they don't know what they are, you don't want them in the positions that they're in anyway, even though that's what it's evolved to. So, and as far as that first law, the law of silence, yeah, that was a Miranda warning. You have the right to remain silent.
Well, you know why they give you that warning of the Miranda law? Did you know that if you remain silent in the courtroom and the judge asks, do you plead guilty or not guilty or whatever, and you remain silent, they can only keep you for the most of maximum 48 hours, even if you're a murderer. You have to agree. You have to. They can't.
I don't know what state you're from, Bob, but here they enter a plea for you and set a trial date.
But you somewhere, that's true. But somewhere along the way, you have to agree to what they're saying. If you remain silent and never agree, then they can't do it. It's all by agreement.